what the fuck was this movie? So, I saw Halloween Ends tonight, and this is a movie that I watched the Thursday early preview. I was excited. I wore my Michael Myers t-shirt. I brought this figure here of my 10-inch Michael Myers, put it on display. Okay, I am not some just whatever person who went into this. I went into this movie excited. I went in it, you know, I didn't enjoy the trailers, but I was sitting there like, please be good, please be good, please be good. And this movie was dog shit. So much so that I don't think it's appropriate for me to do a traditional review. This movie is going to be more of a rant than anything, so be warned. But this is a spoiler review for the movie, even though this really is more of a rant and me just talking about what the fuck this movie was. This movie was awful. And if you saw my last couple videos, I did not enjoy Halloween 2018. Didn't feel like it added a lot to the franchise. However, Halloween Kills did add to the franchise. I enjoyed the flashback scenes. I enjoyed the kills and stuff, and the way they and some of the social commentary. That's all cool. This movie was horrible because the best way to describe what's wrong with this movie is this movie didn't feel like the end of a franchise. It felt like the death of one. This movie is just boring. And the reason it's boring is because, so at the beginning of this movie, we see this kid, Corey, who's babysitting this kid and accidentally assists in the murder, let's say, because he falls to his death because he locked him in this room. And when he was trying to get the door open, the kid accidentally fell to his death. The family blamed him for fucking killing their child. What a horrible thing to happen. Right? And you're like, okay, that's kind of a weird scene to open this movie up with. But there we go from there. And we see that it's 4 years later. And Laurie's just moved on. Not really, but like, she's like, you know, I'm trying to move on from Michael and blah, blah, blah and stuff. I'm like, excuse me, no. Because we watched the end of Halloween Kills, and it seems like right when you watch that ending of that movie, you're like, oh, okay, so she's going to go out and kill Michael herself. No, that's not what happens at all at this movie. This is 4 years later. Makes no sense when you watch Kills, because it almost feels like these two movies should have tied directly into each other, but they didn't. So then you get to that, and most of this movie is about Allison and Corey hooking up. And it's just dumb, because, like, you don't really get what Allison sees in him besides that, you know, she went through something horrible, and people were giving her weird looks about it, and he went through something horrible, and they're just trying to be happy or whatever. But my problem is, none of these characters are interesting to carry a whole hour of this movie. That's right, Michael is not in this movie for an hour. And Laurie serves almost no purpose throughout this film until like the last 20 minutes of this movie. Does anything actually remotely interesting with Laurie and the actual real Michael happen? So, you know, Corey's getting bullied because of what happened with that kid. He gets thrown, and Michael finds him in the sewer. And Michael's been training him, and then he looks in the eyes of evil and becomes a murderous psychopath. And it's just like, you watch this part of the movie and you're going, wait, are they trying to set up this dude to be the next killer in the franchise? Because I'm interested to see if that's what happens, but I'm also like, fuck no, this character's not interesting enough to make that actually happen. So I'm just sitting here confused about what they're doing. Then you get to the end of this movie, and Corey dies by the hands of himself, Laurie, and Michael, all involved in the murder of this kid. Okay? This kid's, it's just like, what were they doing? And then when, you know, Allison at the end of this movie screaming at Laurie, being like, no, he wouldn't do that. I'm like, excuse me? Like, this is your, like, you know that everyone thought Laurie was crazy at a certain point, and we saw that she was right. Maybe you should trust the woman who seems crazy and has been right multiple times in this franchise. I'm just so confused. So, but then you get to the end of this movie where, like, you start getting to some... I mean, here's the worst part about this movie. Michael isn't in it for most of it. And then there's just no interesting kills. I mean, Corey starts going around killing people, but A, that's not real effing Michael killing people. And they're not interesting or memorable kills. He just kind of... I mean, the one with the tongue was kind of cool. That was it. But it's just like, you get to this point, and then you see Michael actually come in. Laurie starts killing him. And his death, I don't know how to explain why, but it felt so anticlimactic. Like, they just kind of killed him. And then the scene where they're, like, dragging his body all through town, and people are touching him. Like, it felt like that scene from Spider-Man 2, where, you know, you're talking about the train scene where they find him without his mask on, and they start grabbing him, lifting him up. Except, this is more of a... People are just wondering what this boogeyman is, you know, and they're just kind of touching him, and then they throw his body in the wood chipper. I did like that, the part where they threw his body in the wood chipper. But it's like, why involve the rest of the town? I don't know. It just didn't make sense, because even the police say in the movie, this isn't how it works. Like, it really should have just been those two characters going to the junkyard by themselves as they slowly watch Michael go into the wood chipper or whatever, and they cry. And or not, was it a wood chipper? I don't know. It doesn't matter. And then they cry, and then you see them, and then it cuts to them slowly moving forward. We don't really see how Laurie really moves forward, except that this guy might be into her. And we don't even see how Allison moves forward. So we spent a whole damn freaking 2 hours on this character that you don't even see how her story wraps up and what happens with her. It's just such a worthless film. Because it doesn't advance the franchise, and it doesn't wrap up the franchise. It doesn't make you wanting more, and it doesn't make you satisfied with the ending. It just leaves you frustrated. These are the people who made Halloween 2018 and Kills. While not great, they're capable of at least making something that Halloween fans would at least want to watch. And this wasn't that. I mean, even producers before this movie was coming out were saying, this might be a Halloween movie to piss people off. And I'm like, well, then why did you make it like this? This is a terrible movie that you knew from the jump no one would like it, yet you still made it like this. There's just no excuse for movies like this. What an awful piece of shit. I'm sorry. Don't go watch this movie. Or do, because I think as a Halloween fan you probably should, just to make up your own mind on it. But at the same time, I think most people are going to come away like me, just mad and just frustrated at, this was really the best you could have done? This is the movie that this whole trilogy was building to? Because it doesn't even feel like it's connected to the other movies very well at all. What an awful movie.